Well, hello all you wonderful people out there in YouTube land, and welcome to the final HO scale product review for this month. We will be taking a look at this Athearn 50-foot outside braced plug door boxcar. Now, as you can see, it is lettered for the Cotton Belt with the Hydra Cushion for Freight paint scheme. Now, those of you who may not know, Cotton Belt in the 1920s was essentially bought out by the Southern Pacific. They accumulated the controlling number of shares, controlling interest in the Cotton Belt, and they used it as sort of an East Texas and Arkansas subsidiary, basically. So that is why you have Cotton Belt locomotives and Southern Pacific locomotives painted in the same paint scheme. On paper, two separate railroads. Operational practice, they were essentially the same railroad. So, getting back on track, pun intended. This is an older freight car. This is an older blue box freight car. This was originally a kit car when it was first manufactured. Original manufacture, this car came with horn hook couplers rather than knuckle couplers. It has been converted to KD magnetic knuckle couplers. I picked this car up used for, I want to say, $10 maybe at the 2024 Greater Houston Train Show in Pasadena, Texas. And it is a pretty good little car for a $10 car. Originally this car came with plastic wheels. I converted it over to metal wheels. You have a lot of cast-on detailing cast onto the body of the car. The car is all 100% plastic. The only metal on this car are the screws holding the trucks to the body, the wheels, and the couplers. So you have this cast-on ladders, cast-on stirrup steps, cast-on door latching mechanisms, which are actually pretty nicely done, I have to admit. All the lettering on this car and decaling is very nicely done. I'm going to kill my light for just a second. I do have to admit that there is some transparency to the lettering as it wraps around the ridges of the car. Now, I don't know if that's an age thing or if that's the way it was coming from the factory in the mid-90s, I want to guesstimate. But either way, aside from where the Hydra Cushion decal wraps around the ribs of the car, this thing is pretty nicely done as in the way of how the decals and the lettering are executed. All the load and capacity and weight information on this car are correct to my eye. You have the correct plate decaling here to the clearance plate certification. The Cotton Belt decaling is very nicely done. With the light back on, you can see the trucks a little bit better. Kind of rough. Both trucks are the same way. There's not a whole lot of fine granular detail. Dadgum camera. Everything is kind of roughed in. I'm not sure if that's a symptom of aged tooling, inferior tooling, or what the deal is, but the trucks could definitely be done a lot better. There's two basically kind of cylindrical lumps where the springs should be. There's really no the journal bearings. It has the appropriate rotating bearing caps, but they're just kind of like nubs. There's no fine detailing there. But given the age of this car, I'm not really shocked. A little disappointed because I have seen better detailing on freight cars of similar age from Athearn. So again, I don't know if this is aged tooling or inferior tooling or a bad mold, but both of the trucks on this car are really lacking in detail. And you can see there the Katie magnetic operating knuckle coupler. So here we are looking at the B end of this boxcar. You can see the handbrake right there at the very top, center left. You have all of the appropriate brake rigging and detail, parts, all cast onto the body. There is nothing that is separately applied on this car other than the brakeman's walkway and the handbrake wheel. You have a full height ladder on the end of this car, corresponding with the full height ladder on the side of the car. There are two full height ladders on the ends of the car, on either side and on either end. You have a cast on waybill board right here, and the dreadnought ends of this freight car are very nicely modeled. You also have polling pockets on every corner of the car. And the car has body mounted couplers rather than truck mounted. Here on the roof of this boxcar we see all the appropriate ridges, but the reinforcement ridging on each individual panel itself, as well as the ridges that are meant to simulate the individual panels of the roof. You've also got this separately applied one-piece brakeman's walkway here. This car is about the oldest you can reasonably get if you are modeling the 80s and 90s. To update this car for modern operation, the only thing you would really have to do is pop off this brakeman's walkway and kind of fill in the holes that this would mount to with putty. You've got grab irons cast onto the walkway itself in both corners that correspond with the full height ladders. As I said, this right here is no longer in play nowadays. Boxcars and refrigerator cars do not have these walkways along the top of the cars anymore. The only cars that still have those are tank cars that obviously have a platform so you can access the loading valve, and covered hopper cars, obviously, so that people can access the loading grates along the roof of the hopper car for each compartment of the car. This brakeman's walkway, it's not a thing in the modern railroad, but it is just the right era and balance and whatnot, that it is plausible to see this car running around with a walkway on the roof into the mid-90s. So that's the only reason I have not removed it. This car will obviously navigate 18-inch radius curves. I tried to remember to make a note of the minimum radius rating for any locomotives or freight cars or passenger cars or whatnot that I review, but if I forget, please remember that the Stars Hollow Railroad has 18-inch radius curves throughout 100%. So if I'm reviewing it and running it on this railroad, it is good for 18-inch radius curves. Now, as I said, I will try and do my best to remember to make a note of that in each video, but I am human. I do forget things. This car was purchased specifically to service the Clayton County Lumber Company and also the interstate fuel and oil facility. So we're going to do a different sort of review run. We're going to do a quick spot and pull of the Clayton County Lumber Company, since that is what I bought this thing for. And we're not going to use the typical Southern Pacific power, because this is not a true ops video. This is a review run. You know, this is part of a product review. So we're going to use a sound equipped locomotive that we saw, or that you guys saw earlier this year in March, just to add a little bit of flair to this. Now, this is not, as I said, this is not the normal ops video power that I would use, but just for giggly purposes. So you see we have our train made up. Mostly we just got to tack on the track cleaning car and the power and couple up the box car. So let's get the railroad fired up. I'm going to kill this light